Right, what's up and welcome back to another video, my friends. Today, this is going to be the sequel to a short I posted on the main channel a couple of days ago. We're going to be testing out the Olle skate tracker. Now, Jesus Christ, there is so much potential for this right here. Basically, what it is intended to do is you put it on the bottom of the board, either next to the truck or inside a riser that they provide, which is a good idea in my opinion. And basically, it will track the session score of what you're doing, what tricks you're doing, how well you're riding. But basically, we're going to figure it out as we go. Now, it comes with an alcohol pad, the wire to charge it up, because you will need to charge it up, and obviously the chip right here that is going to go into the riser that I'm going to put on the board, because I'm not going to risk it sitting next to the truck with this, considering we live in the UK, it's super wet all the time and I don't want it to get wet or fall into a puddle or something like that. So we're going to use the risers included. Now, I've watched the installation guide and I've started setting up my account on the Olle app. Now, the reason I wanted to start the video before I even set it up is because it asks some very interesting questions. Like, obviously it gets your skater name, which obviously for me is Webz, your location of where you're going to be using it, what style of skateboarding you used, whether it be like flat ground, street, park, vert. So they've asked me those questions, what stance I am. I'm going to click regular there. So there we have there my skate name, my location, flat ground, regular. Let's sign up and see where we end up. Sign up. You see that come up, your email address is already in use?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, you can send me notifications. Welcome to Olle, let's pair your skate tracker. First connect the charging cable, the charging light will turn on. All right, so now we need to go back from the start. Oh, okay, well, we're here now. Apparently I haven't set it up. What's going on? Okay, well, let's see if we can figure this out first and charge it up. First thing that's worth knowing is it has to go by the back truck facing towards the tail. So we're gonna need to take off both trucks as I'm gonna be putting it inside the risers provided. If you can see, this riser in the back here has a little cutout segment for it, so it sits next to the truck. And obviously we're gonna have to put both risers on to level out the playing field on the trucks. So we're going to take our tiddly trucks off and go from there. Hopefully we can charge it up a little bit and give it a little test out here, and then maybe like a full test tomorrow or something, because we're quite limited on time today. Right, so I've taken both trucks off. Let's crack the bag on our risers. We've got some bolts provided there to get everything in place, just in case the ones you have aren't quite long enough for the risers. And the risers also have an extender on them, which I think you have to snap that off. Yeah, that just comes out like that. So like if your truck's slightly bigger or has further apart holes, this will slot in to make it fit. So they've really thought about quite a lot here. So we've got to give them credit for that. We're going to start with the back one. So this is the slot here that's going to house the tracker. So let me grab that real quick, pop it out of the slot here. Now, this has an adhesive tape on the back, so we have to, you peel that off so that it will stick inside the riser. And it has a line-up point. Oh, no. So you see this little hole on it here? The riser has a little nib that you put the hole onto. So you can't really like mess it up as long as you put the hole in there. I mean, it's got like it needs to be pushed through.
Are you sure it doesn't go the other way around, so the sticky bit is on the board?
No. You can stick it to the board. That's another option. But this is the option if you use riser pads or want it to. So you charge it there with that cable, and it just, this bit sticks out of the truck. So you stick the charger on there, which sticks out the side of the truck, so you can always charge it without having to take the truck off.
Right.
That's how it's going to look. So the bit where it says tail there, with a little arrow going up, that's obviously going to be facing our tail. So it's going to look like this. So we've got our arrow facing the tail. We've got our bolt holes lined up, and we're not going to need this extra long section, so we're going to pop that out there, put that just like that, and now we need to put our new bolts in. So we've got our little pack of extra bolts here, 8 of them, and are they the same? No, they're a bit longer, so we'll use these. Start by putting it through the corners like that and that, place that through there, and then we're going to get our back truck, which is this one here. By the way, make sure you use the same truck you put on the back, don't mix them up because it will mess up your skating a little bit. So we've got that there. That fits in nicely. Actually, we might need that extra segment so we don't have the overhang there.
Yeah.
So while I'm tightening these trucks up, it is worth noting that you obviously don't have to put the tracking chip under the truck if you really don't want to use risers. There's an adhesive square that apparently is quite strong that you can also put under the wheel here right next to the truck. So it'll be in essentially the same place, but you wouldn't have to have the risers in. The only reason I've gone for the riser option is because, like I said at the start of the video, we live in the UK, and I feel like if I rode for a puddle and this thing fell off for whatever reason, or if it got wet and the adhesive came off, that it wouldn't be an optimal place to have the chip in the middle of a puddle. So I've opted for the riser thing just to keep it safely snug in there, because I don't really mind using risers that much. Now that we've got the trucks and the chip on there, we've got this very unique pin connector that obviously comes in the box, but I also haven't mentioned yet the price of this. Now, I actually think this is fairly reasonable. If it does what it says it does, which obviously we're going to find out in this video, I think $50 for something like this is fairly reasonable. They could have easily charged like $100 for the app usage and the technology. They could have put a membership on the app, which wouldn't have been good, but some companies definitely would have done that. But app's free. Everything inside the app is free from what I've seen so far. I'll put a correction on screen if it's not. But $50, which is like £40, not bad in my personal opinion, to be able to track all your progress and stuff, like with actual data on a sheet. This is the connector here. I've got my little charger right here that we're gonna pop in there. Oh, there we go, we're popped in. And now this, I believe, just sits on there, like magnetically. So it magnetizes on there like that. So now we should be able to bring up the app. Sadly, this charger wouldn't actually charge it consistently. It kept going off. I think it might be something to do with the watts coming out of the charger or just the wire not being fully compatible. So while it was charging for a little while, we decided to take it home, fully charge it. I might even have a go with it later this evening without filming and come back to you tomorrow with some of the data and a little practice session. But we're gonna continue this video tomorrow. Right, day 2. I've got some thoughts, feelings, and I've found out some findings of what and how I feel about the skate tracker. So let's get into that. So I have to interrupt myself right here real quick, just to let you know that if you watch this next section on my first impressions and how it worked on my first day, do not click off the video after that and then not watch the last final bit when I've tested it 3, 4, 5 times, because that is imperative that you see that. You are welcome just to skip straight ahead to the final conclusion, but if you want to see how it works optimally, how good it can be, and a little bit more data after that, then stick around and let's get back to the video. So as you know from yesterday's setup, we put the skate tracker in here. I charged it when I got home. When I wasn't using the portable charger, it worked completely fine. So no issues there whatsoever. I just plugged it into my little generator and charged it up. It takes about an hour, so just keep that in mind. If you get one of these, charge it up for an hour before you try and use it. And when I took it to the skate park, obviously I had to connect it to the app first. Now there are a few like quirks and things about the app that I like and some that I don't like. So starting with the things that I like, basically it completely tracks your session, right? I'll put something on screen now so you guys know exactly what I'm looking at, but it tracks the time that you were skating, how many tricks that you've done, how many tricks that you've landed, your landing percentage. So for example, for me, I think my landing percentage is like 70% of tricks that I tried. There are some quirks of it that sometimes it thinks you're doing a trick when you're not. So for example, look, if I pop up my board like this, it will think that I just tried a trick and I didn't land it because my board hit the ground and it didn't come down completely. So there are some slight quirks of how it tests what tricks you're doing and how you're landing them. Outside of that, the app is actually pretty damn good. And considering it's a £40 or $50 payment and then nothing for the app after that, it's a pretty good deal. It's got leaderboards that I will say not a lot of people are using them. For example, yesterday, I'll put on screen right now as well, I was, I think, number 2 in the world for like points done. And I think overall, like worldwide, I was like number 100 after one session of 30 minutes. So there's about 200 of these out there in the wild, I think it said on the leaderboard, that people have used. And if you want to have like a little competition score, there was one guy that was sending loads of tricks from France. So if you want to have like a competitive battle with someone online that you don't know, that's pretty cool. I'm very competitive, so the inside of me was like, I have to beat this guy, I can't leave the park till I beat him. But he'd been skating for hours and had like 5,000 score while mine was only 1,800 for half an hour. So I went home and collected the data. So it has a few other stats as well that it goes over. Like I said earlier, it's got the tricks you attempted, the tricks you landed, the maximum line of tricks that you did without bailing or coming off the board, how many pushes you've done, the time you spent in the air in seconds. For example, mine is 74 seconds of hang time over 118 tricks. So what's that, like 0.6, 0.7 seconds for every trick? So not too much height on those. 47 tricks in regular, 35 of them flip tricks, 49 of them pops from the tail, and 33 tricks in nollie. That's all the statistics it's got. Now, I will say that even if you're skating in fakie, it does seem to register that as nollie for whatever reason. So keep that in mind when you're trying to track your stats. And I know a lot of people were thinking, look, I want to see exactly what tricks I'm doing. Is it going to tell me when I'm doing a kick flip, when I'm doing a heel flip, when I'm doing a tray flip? Sadly, no. It's not going to be able to tell you exactly what tricks happened in your session, just whether they flipped or not and whether they're popped from the tail or nose. And yes, it does have some slight inaccuracies. I think it's still a very cool bit of kit nonetheless. And also, right, one more thing, when you're skating and you do a trick, it makes like a little da-da-dun noise when you land the trick. You can turn that off in the app if it annoys you, but I found it quite funny to tell like when it was registering if I was doing a trick, and it does like a doo-doo-doo-doo noise when you don't land the trick. Alright, so everything you've seen so far was obviously pretty positive, right? You've seen it from my first session and how things worked. Now, I went to do a second session just to make sure everything was accurate, and I'm so glad that I did, because when I did it, I found out it wasn't really tracking any of my tricks. It was actually doing quite terribly. I think I landed about 15 out of 30 tricks, so 50% success rate, and it was telling me I had landed 2 out of 30 tricks, which was obviously not true, and I was like, damn, this is really, really inaccurate today, which is a huge discrepancy. So I decided to go away, test it for a few more days to fully find out what I felt and how I feel like it works over a longer period of time, because maybe I just had bad signal or something like that. So now we're going to fast forward to the skate park. About 4 sessions later, I tested it 5 times total, and I'm going to give you my full feedback, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So let's get to that now. Alright, so I'll put the stats on screen now, what the Olle tracking chip is currently telling me I've done today. I think it was 7 tricks landed, 14 tricks attempted. I'm now going to do 10 tricks back and forth with no cuts, and depending on how many I land, we'll see if the chip can track them correctly. Starting now. A bit sketchy on the last one, but that's 9 out of 10. Let's check the data on the chip and see if it correlates properly. Right, so the app currently shows 20 tricks attempted, and I think it was, what, 12 landed. So really, it's not tracking it very well. This is my 3rd day of testing it. The first day seemed to work pretty well, but I didn't really track things too, like, in depth of checking how many tricks I'm doing and how many it's registering. The second day, it was absolutely abysmal. We tracked pretty much nothing. I think I did about 15 tricks landed out of about 25 tricks, and it told me I tried 27 tricks and only landed 2 or 3. And today, as you've just seen, I've tested it out with 10 tricks, so it only tracked 6, and I landed 9, but it only told me 5. All right, wait a second. Before I recap this video, I've got a little bit more data from what I've tried to do here. I went to record some extra B-roll of me skating the ramp back and forth, and when I did that, I thought, you know what, I would check my stats and see how well I'd done. I landed quite a few tricks. I'd say at least 50% of the tricks that I landed were, you know, all right, and the rest of them were obviously bails from how slippery the thing was and just me being a bit shit. So I collected the data for that, and when I went to the app, I was extremely surprised. Not only did it say that I've only landed 3 tricks out of 27 attempted, it said my max line was 1, even though I literally just did a 3-piece line and you saw it. Points were terrible. My percent landed was 11, and it didn't really, you know, get any of the tricks that I did for whatever reason. Is it because we're inside? Is it because I was going back and forth in a ramp? It really didn't detect what I was doing at all in here. So I think with that in mind, this might be a little bit of a gimmick product. Like, it worked well at the skate park, but it's not working well now. That's a 50% success rate. And with that, I really can't give it more than like a 5 out of 10. It's a really cool idea, and the app is actually really cool and really well put together when it works, like super responsive, all this, that, and the other. But as you heard from today, it didn't really work at all. So I can't really say to anyone, you should buy this if it's not going to work all the time. But my thoughts and feelings on this were that it was really good when it was working, but when it doesn't, it's hard to recommend. I give it a 5 out of 10. If you want it, I've left a link in the description. If you want to check out their website, I've left a link in the description for that. But overall, I give it a 5 out of 10. I'll see you guys in the next video.